Hey, Tommy and I are up in Roseau for the Polaris 70th anniversary. All right, we're here with Randy Larson, who is one of the key figures in this show, and Randy is going to tell us about the snowmobile he recently restored.
Yes, this, you know, probably have heard of any Polaris history. Jerry Bunke was one of the, I think, 77 driver of the year. But this is the first sled he ever raced out of Rushford, Minnesota. And it was given to me in a box, parts from his son Gabe. So this is actually Gabe's machine. And Gabe says, can you do something with this and have it ready by the 70th? And this is what it is now. And this is what it looked like and how he raced it in 73, 74, and 75.
Cool. Very cool, Randy.
It's a 295. 73 Starfire is what the base chassis is. So.
Nice. Really cool. Let's give you guys a look. So Randy just finished the resto on this, and she is sweet. Love it. Absolutely love it, Randy. Thanks for showing it to us.
Thumbs up, John.
Okay, Randy, what is the story behind this sled, number 245?
I acquired this sled from Don Solkup, but it was raced by Paul Smith, and he finished 7th in the I-500 race. He's from Marquette, Michigan, and I found pictures online and tried to restore it the best I could to how he drove it. All I had was a chassis, and I had to get all the parts here and there or whatever. So
awesome, Randy.
Yeah, so that's one thing unique that he did. He put he had an extra hoop.
He put 2 stirrups on.
And I think it wasn't for drivability. I think it was just
reinforcement.
Reinforce the step. Yeah, I think is what he did there. Yeah.
I agree with that. I'm building a one-lung racer, and everybody's saying cut the hoop off, but I'm leaving it on for exactly that reason.
I got pictures of him on, because if you go to the I-500 site on YouTube, I found him racing. And
yeah.
I found the pictures of the sled, and that's how he had it. So.
Cool.
So
cool.
I did the best I could.
Well, it's beautiful, Randy. Thanks for showing it to us.
You bet. Thanks, John.
All right, Randy is showing us under the hood of this sled, and wow.
Yeah, they've had their spare clutch mounted here.
Is that original? Like it was raced that way?
Yeah, the witness marks are in the belly pan.
Really?
Yeah.
So this must be
a quick change. So you just take this off, and then just outside comes off. You pop that one on.
It's just splined.
Yeah.
Wow. Really cool. Really cool. This is a good chance to look at the motor. Look at that. It's got 2 Tillotsons on it. I'll bet it was a party trying to sync those.
Then you got the rod hooking them together.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Man, this is mint, Randy. Look at the fuel shut off, folks.
That's the first.
Well, that's a tank switcher.
That's brakes.
This is brakes?
That's a brake reservoir. No, this is brake reservoir.
Oh, that's a brake reservoir down there.
Switching tanks, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see the brake resi down there.
That's the very first hydraulic brake Polaris made.
Okay, so it's cable from the handlebars down to that little master cylinder.
Yeah, and then there's a pump underneath it.
Wow. Super cool. Geez, this is CDI too. What year is this? 71. This has got to be one of the earliest CDI engines too. Then
it's pretty much.
Wow, wow. And it's got a rear tank on it too for cross country. Sweet. Wow. Randy, thanks for popping the hood. This is so cool.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, it's kind of noisy, although I'm sure it'll be noisier tomorrow. So let's have a look at these. It's a Messelt Snow King made for Messelt Automotive, 292 JLO. Cool. And it's a Larson. There's a striking similarity between these two, isn't there? Not quite the same though. This Messelt has got like a gas tank under the hood or something, but pretty similar. Viking. It's got the gas tank coming out of the hood like the Celt, but different hood on it. Kind of a home light-ish hood there. What's it say? Only made in 68, 69. All right, the familiar Home Light Forester 2. I've seen a bunch of these over the years, and I like them. They're cool. You know, they're basically a Polaris, but they're styled different. Lloyd Fugelberg's 1965 Mustang. And as far as I know, Lloyd is the father of patron Mike Fugelberg. So big shout out there. Thanks for putting it in the show, Lloyd. Little Andy, awesome. Colt 80 with the K181 Kohler. Let's see, is that a 4-stroke? I bet it is. Can we peek in there? Well, I'm not sure how well it'll come out on camera, but that's definitely a 4-stroke Kohler in there. Colt 150 with the big 372 JLO single. Mustang with the 372 Hearth. These were, you know, in the day in 1968, those were really kind of a hot sled. 67 Mustang. TX Racer, 335, 340 class. Cool. Little Andy. Another Mustang. 76 TX 440 with a liquid kit. There was no such thing as a 76 TX 440 liquid unless you bought those parts that you see there. You had to build your own out of a liquid kit from the factory. 79 TXL. I've always loved the paint jobs on these. Really a really nice, cool, stylish sled. 82 Cutlass. You can always tell the 82s from the 81s by the graphics. The Cutlass, the TXC, and the TXL Indy that year were all very similar on the graphics. The blue and the gold. Awesome looking sleds. All right, folks, I'm here with my friend Dan, and Dan's got some cool memorabilia as well as some awesome sleds. Dan, you wanna start with the 82 SS?
Yeah, sure. It's a 1982 Cutlass SS. I got it from a friend whose mother-in-law bought it brand new, and she passed away, and I got it. The only thing I've replaced on it is the front bumper and the skis.
Wow.
Other than that, cool story about the front bumper is that the replacements were 3-piece, whereas the original was 1-piece.
Yeah.
And I think they did that for shipping purposes. They could ship them easier.
That makes sense. How many miles are on it?
This sled's got 630 miles, and then I rode it 130, and it gets over 25 miles to the gallon.
No way.
Way.
But it's a single carb 440.
Single carb direct drive, 440.
Oil injected.
Yep. Oil. It was the first model of Polaris made 81, 82 that had oil injection.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah. So it cleaned up real nice.
Clean. Just gorgeous under there.
So the pipe was literally a scuff and shoot. You know, it was.
And the oil bottle.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's unique to the Cutlasses.
Because
a TXC uses a very different oil bottle than that.
Well, there's studs coming out of the gate, so it bolts from the front. You know, nuts go on from the front.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. I learned some stuff right now.
And like this.
Look at the tool bag.
Yeah, and it's just as pliable as the day it was made. And the really cool part, still got the original tools with made in Japan on it.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
And I've got the owner's manual at home. It's got the salesman's card in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a real time capsule.
Wow.
And I never thought I'd get really geeked up about a sled like this, but it's been a fun sled to own, and it's really a fun sled to drive. You know?
Well, everything I've heard about them is that they're really fun to ride.
They are. They're lightweight. They don't take up a lot of space in the garage, right?
Yeah.
Which is nice, you know?
Yeah. So,
and the seat, seat's very unique.
Oh boy, that's the original seat still?
I went to Detroit Lakes Votech in the fall of 1980. We toured Arctic and Polaris in the same day. And they had just made a plan expansion for the cut and sew seat department. I think this is one of the first models that came out of that department because you see all the pieces are sewn together. This is a totally original seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And look at the gas cap. Look at the gold detail on that.
Yep. And then also,
I feel like I need that for my 82 TXC.
it also has a sight gauge that's fuel line.
Yeah.
For the fuel.
Yep. But
Yeah.
you know, they had a fair amount in common, being they were both simultaneously the first oil-injected sleds from Polaris.
Right,
And
right.
both 440s.
Yes. And the engine, I guess, the core engine is the same, but the C had the twin carbs. But
Yep.
the difference, this was tuned for torque because of the direct drive, and I guess it was all in the ignition box.
Oh, well,
The ignition
and the
box
exhaust.
is vastly different between the two.
The exhaust as well.
They said if you put a twin carb engine in this, it won't pull itself.
Really?
Yeah, because it just doesn't have that low end grunt it needs to
Gotcha.
get going. This helmet I found at the Great Eastern Whiteout 2 years ago.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Brand new in a box.
That's beautiful.
And where would you find that? I also found an NOS cover that says Cutlass on it at Princeton 2 years ago.
And folks,
That was crazy.
if you can't tell, that's a very midnight blue helmet.
Yeah,
It's
correct.
not a
It's
black.
not black.
It's not an Indy 600
Yep.
helmet. It's midnight
And
blue.
I've got the box at home, and it says blue on it. It doesn't
Yeah.
say black. Yeah, you
Cool.
know,
Do you want
which is
to
cool.
talk about your other sled?
Okay, sure. This is a 1979 TXL. I kind of tried to replicate the poster with real stuff.
Yeah,
Look back and smile, right?
that's
And
cool.
so this sled I bought as a carcass from our friend Roger Jordan.
Okay.
It was a straight tunnel. It was a workable hood, but the front was all broken out of it. Had a good seat on it, and it's literally a junkyard dog. It took me 4 years to do it. I tried to restore it as accurately as possible.
You could have
Hit
fooled
that
me.
latch on the side. I had the tunnel done in implement paint, so you can ride it and then still restore it to show quality. If I can get the hood latch undone. I put the brake recall scoop on
Oh yeah.
because I don't like symmetry typically. So I think
Yeah.
it looks cool, but it's a neat piece. That was actually a factory recall back in the day.
Yep.
It was the first year they closed the hood in for liquid cooling, and the cross-country guys were getting the brakes too hot and burning the sleds to the ground. So
Oh, wow.
they would catch on fire.
Wow.
So Polaris initiated a recall. That was the scoop, the hood scoop. Most people just got in a stainless steel brake line.
Yeah.
Most people just put the brake line on because they didn't want to cut a big hole in their brand new hood, you know?
Right.
But I always thought it looked cool, so I did it that way.
Wow, this is an awesome resto.
But I've ridden it about 280 miles, I think, since I rode it at the Ride with the Champs 1 year in
Wow.
the vintage, not the vintage challenge, but another vintage ride. But yeah, so it's gotten ridden a little bit.
The resto is incredible. You had all your hardware plated, and
Yeah.
you got the motor super clean, and it's just, you could eat off this thing, folks. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank
the
you.
airbox, you never
Yeah.
see an airbox that nice, and you never see nobody puts the foam on them.
Yeah, and I work at a power sports dealer, just some stuff that was off of something else, and I just cut it and put it on. You know?
Gotcha.
So,
Cool.
yeah. So
Super cool. Dan, you want to tell them about the crate back here?
About, you said the crate?
Yeah.
Yeah, what that is that's a crate skin from a 1979 TX440. You'll see that they've got the serial number written on it here. This is owned by a friend of mine from Cadillac, Michigan, named Scott Russo, and I'm kind of the caretaker of it. He bought it online years ago for 20 bucks. So the guy harbored it for a long time and then sold it for 20 bucks online. But I've been the happy caretaker of it, and I take it to shows and kind of use it as a backdrop. But if you'll notice here, it's even got our XL on it. So
Wow.
it's kind of a neat little time capsule too, you know.
Super cool. You
And it
never
was
see
the 25th
those.
anniversary, so it's got that on it. you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah, so 79 was their 25th.
Yeah.
But just like the the decals they had you know,
Yep.
for the 25th and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then on these suits too, there's 3 different versions of these suits.
I had no idea.
They made them for different years. This one's got a blue interior to it. Some of them the early ones had red. Some of them had the logo here. One year they put the logo down here and it was red. And I have an example of all 3 of those style suits, which
Wow.
is kind of cool. I wore this at the Sioux 500 a couple of years ago when I was spectating at the Sioux.
That's incredible.
It's pretty cool. We
That's
used to
really
do a
cool.
parade lap at the Sioux 500 with vintage stuff. and I would wear the suit. And I have another TXL, a 78 that I rode for that. You know.
Cool,
So
Dan.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. So.
Cool. Well,
yeah.
Thanks for telling me about your sleds and
All
your
right.
stuff.
All right.
This is I mean, most people, this would be a great collection, but this is just the pieces you brought here. So
Yeah.
it's
I only
incredible.
had spot for 2 in the trailer. So.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thanks, John. Or yeah. Thanks, buddy.
All right, 79 TXC. So this is similar to a TXL in most respects, except for it runs the 340 free air engine in it. So it was a cross-country racing sled for those guys that didn't want to go liquid. All right, patron Mike Fugelberg's 1980 Polaris Centurion. Sweet sled. 78 TX 250. Really cool. 77 TXL 340, first year. Really cool. More desirable than my 78 that I own. Fewer of them were made and harder to find and rumored to have more power. TX Playmate.
Don't get shaky with that.
It's Dirt Man. What'd you bring today, Milt?
I got the 69 aluminum tunnel and the 66 cruiser.
Awesome. We'll get him on video. You want to do an interview about him later?
No.
Oh, you do. You want to tell everybody about him, Milt. All right, I'm here with reluctant interviewee Milt Smith. We're talking about his 1966 Polaris Cruiser. Where'd you find it, Milt?
I actually got it from, Rice Lake Auto? Down south of St. Cloud. He found it out in Montana.
Really?
And nobody actually knew what exactly it was when we were on vintage sleds. Everybody thought, well, yeah, it's a Voyager. But actually, it's a 1966 Cruiser. It's a proto to the 67 and on up Voyagers. And it has twin tracks. It's two 15-inch tracks instead of the 30-inch solid track. And of course, Donnie Silkup, Dr. Mario, knew what it was. I knew what it was. But we know of 4 in existence. Donnie has one. I have one. There's one right next to it that Mitch Magnuson owns. And then there's one out in Montana by the name of, his name slips my mind right now because I'm old. But yeah, it's 372 J-Lo. It's got an Apex forward reverse transmission, forward neutral reverse. And what else do you want to know?
That's it. Thanks for talking about it, Milt.
You bet.
I really appreciate it, and so does the rest of the world. Most of the people watching this have never seen one, so.
No, we only know of four in existence, so.
And half of them are right here.
And half of them are right here, yes.
Cool. Thanks, Milt.
Okay, you bet.
TX Playmate with the 340 in it. I will bet that is a handful to ride. 76 TX Starfire, 6th place 1976 I-500 finisher. That is sweet. That is a really cool survivor. 79 TXC 340, raced by Jomar Burnett, is the last leaf spring sled for Team Polaris. Of course, they go with the IFS next year. All right, another TX racer, Winnipeg to St. Paul, finished 7th. Really cool. It's a Starfire, and a lot of people have signed it. Very cool. Another rare sled, race sled, cool stuff. All right, we got the Megs here. Badass. 2+1 Charger. Dr. Mario has one, and boy is his loud. I wonder if this is as loud as Dr. Mario's. 1970 TX 649, 3-cylinder, WSA champion, King's Castle. Sweet. All right, really cool. Big JLO 744 free air. It's got those funky Baru purple plugs. You see those? I've tried those a few times in my life and never had any luck. Here's another one, no megs, just dumping straight out the pan. More conventional looking spark plugs too. Really cool, 1970 TX Charger 2+1, $795, that's the big boy. I bet she barks when you fire up those stinger pipes. 649, way cool. Awesome TX 500, mod 396, very cool. I wonder if that's a JLO mod 396. Let's take a peek. Wayne Burkle. Oh yeah, that's a 396 JLO one lunger. That is like the king of the hill of JLO one lung sleds. We're here at the Midnight Blue Express Row. Brad was just here, just chatted with him. I don't know if we'll get him on camera, but nice guy, really beautiful sled. Thorson sled, another one of Thorson's sleds. Jerry Bunke's sled, super cool. Of course, we just did the interview with Randy on this, and hopefully the audio worked out. Nice TX 340. Let's see what the plaque says. 76 340cc Starfire Snow Pro for Dom Amdahl. Sweet, sweet, really cool. Jim Burnett's 650 PDC. I love these. These are hot sleds. Look at the heads on this. Those cylinder heads are so cool. And that motor is just massive. And it's not just the big fins up top. If you peek in, look on the crankcase. The whole crankcase is finned too. Super cool. Says it was the last free air to win the world championship. Really cool. Another Brad Hooling sled, cool. And another big 650. So you'll see this one doesn't have the same heads as the PDC, but also still just a massive engine. Just a massive engine. All right, folks, we're here with friend of the channel, Mitchell Fruth. You guys know Mitchell. He's donated parts to the channel. You see him at Princeton. And Mitchell's brought some awesome sleds up to the 70th Polaris. So Mitchell, tell me about this 74 TX 250 first.
This one was ran in the 74 i500. It unfortunately only made it to day one, and the guy broke down. But it was last registered in 1980. He parked it in his dairy barn lean-to. I bought it from him, and we got it mechanically running. I left it all original, all the faded numbers, just as how he ran it and raced it. And now it is just a untouched piece of i500 history. And you don't see a lot of these 74 TX 250s because they reran the 73 295s because they were at a motor disadvantage of that year. So it's quite a rare sled to find that was raced.
Mitchell, you want to show us the i500 mods? I can see them from here, but let's start at the back.
This one's pretty low key on the mods, but this one is just dual fuel tanks that they put on.
That's a 69 or 70 tank back there.
And just tethered. That's about all this one is. There's nothing crazy done on this one. It was just two brothers that had a dairy farm, and they raced, and they set up a sled to go try to run it. So
well, let's give the people a quick look under the hood if it opens easy.
So it does have a big fin motor in it right now because the other motor is currently getting built because it was stuck when I got it.
Okay.
So my goal was to ride it at Pequot last year, and I had this motor on the shelf and I wanted to run it at Pequot, and that was my goal to get it done. So it does have a big fin motor out of it right now, but it will have the correct motor in it next time.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the TXC then. So my burning question is, who is AJ Ingebretson and what did he race in?
He ran it in '79. He was an 18-year-old kid. I still got in contact with him and his family. His nephew actually runs the Core Power Sports on a brand new sled, so he was a ton of help with it. He bought the sled brand new in '79. They loaded it up in a Dodge van, and they went and raced the I-500 on it. Some cool features that are on this sled. He ran motocross, so it actually is twist throttle sled.
Oh, wow.
On it. All the suspension bolts, all the heads were drilled and wire tied together, so no bolts were gonna back out on it, was the idea of it.
Sure.
This is pretty much original under here.
Oh, he's got the cans on. Those aren't tow hooks, folks. Those are storage
Birds.
canisters.
All the clutches, all the heads are painted yet, have the seal paint. Motor mounts down here are painted.
So folks, they did that on the I-500 because you weren't allowed to rebuild or repair any engine internals or swap the engine. So they marked them that way. So this is super cool and super rare to find one with still the paint on the head bolts.
So this is the original picture I got from the family member. So he actually hit a tree coming out of the Minnesota forest up in northern Minnesota. And if you look, they reworked all the bulkhead. It's still got the smashed fiberglass, and they just re-welded it so you could ride it again after the race.
So this is unusual too. They didn't have fiberglass belly pans in '79.
Yes.
So this is a '77 belly pan that probably put on for weight savings? I don't know.
Yep.
So very unusual. Cool, Mitchell. Cool. Thanks for sharing your sleds.
And of course I got the posters, you know, got to have the race poster from that year. And
oh boy, it'll be a hot time in Thief River tonight. Cool.
Thanks,
Mitchell,
Nutter.
thanks for sharing your sleds.
Thank you.
Polaris X3, two 3-cylinder Polaris Star engines, two 795s. Cool. Very cool. Awesome race sled. Speed run sled. Bob Eastman's Shooting Star. Really cool. Wow, the history here is just incredible. Looks like a little 120. We got some newer stuff coming up here. Really cool stuff. Awesome. Awesome. All right, let's go have a look at this i500 XC down here. So it's an Indy 400 XC. It is the 1991 i500 winner. And I've actually seen this sled before. It was in the back of Randy Larson's pickup the last time I saw it. Really cool. XCR 440 SP. What's it say there? Raced by Jack Struthers. Really cool sled. Love the race history. Aluminum body, 1970 TX 340 Playmate Racer. Very rare. Another one. Super cool. Snow Travelers. Really neat. It's a freight toboggan. Cool. How about a little Andy with a wheel kit? We run that year round. Oh, this Dickinson North Dakota rural telephone sled may have appeared in some prior videos. You might have seen it before. Cool sled. I love the vintage look on it. Neat. More of these old Travelers. You can see David Johnson and Eleanor Johnson have signed this one. Super cool. Super cool. The Polaris history is just awesome. Check these out. 1962 experimental sled. That's the kind of thing you'll find up in Roseau. All right, look at the massive size on these next three. Holy cow. Those are huge snow travelers. Really cool. And look at the middle one. It's a side-by-side. Super cool. These were some big old sleds, and very cool with the pinstriping and all decked out. Got some more snow travelers over here. Really cool. And prototype of the L55. It's yellow, kind of unusual. All right, folks, we're here with Bob Safransky. He's a familiar face because I met him at Princeton at the swap. And Bob, tell me about 1970 TX300 with an aluminum body. That's pretty rare, isn't it?
Very rare. All the Playmates were made in Canada at Beaujeu.
Yeah.
But the aluminum racers, factory racers, were made in Roseau.
Oh.
They were ported here and fitted with 2 twin pipes, which were actual copies of Yamaha 125 Enduro pipes.
Really?
Back in the day. Yep.
No kidding.
Yes.
What kind of carbs does it got?
I put some Makunis on because I like driving it, but they came with Tillotson HRs.
Oh, well, it's sure a lot easier to sink a pair of Makunis, isn't it?
It drives just like a new one.
Really?
Yeah, it runs good, starts easy. Yeah.
Nice. Did you do a CDI swap too? Or is it still points?
These came with points.
Okay.
There was only a handful that came with CDI and 70.
Okay.
And most of those burned out right away. They were very poorly
really?
made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a 440. It didn't last too long, and we had to put points in it. With all of their CD units were going out.
Cool. Well, thanks for showing me your sled, Bob. That's really cool.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to talk about the other TX300 here. Even though it's Dick's sled, Bob's going to tell us about it.
We got that out of Roseau in 1970. It came out of the race shop.
Yeah?
And it has one-of-a-kind muffler on it that I've never seen on a 70 before. It's a long one, and it's not flared at the end. It's got a little stinger that comes out the back.
Really?
And this one produced a lot of power, yes.
Can you show me the muffler, or is it too hard to open the hood?
Right, all right. I'll show it to you. He wants to see the muffler. Should we take the hood off or just show him? Okay.
Oh, we can see it without opening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They weren't real fancy when they made the exit hole for it. They just punched it
It
out.
looks like they did that with a cutting torch.
Yes, yeah.
All right, folks. So
That's a one-of-a-kind. If anybody's ever seen another one, I haven't.
it's really similar to a 72 Colt,
Yes.
except for the exit is totally different.
Right.
But the body looks close.
Close.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for showing me, Bob.
You're welcome.
Check out this display. Pretty cool. Triple Crown. I'll let you read the sign for yourself. But really cool. Really cool. Mike Seiler sleds. So neat stuff. Great display. 79 TXC, another of those. And a cross-country Indy. You guys know I love cross-country Indies. This one's done up a little different than mine. Looks like he's got some Fox Resi shocks on it and SLP ultralights, yellow springs, but cool. 92 XCR 440, very neat. 69 Playmate, cool. 70 TX Playmate with a 400 twin. 72 295 Colt SS. I love the look of the 72 Colts. I really like that twin headlight look. 74 TX 440. I have one of these as well, and eventually mine will be a project for the channel. I don't think it'll end up this nice though. 78 TXL 340. You guys know I have one of these that I love. This one's set up quite a bit different than mine. This one's set up as a race sled. Super cool. 78 TX 440, really cool. And oh, this is what I absolutely lusted after as a child. I wanted one of these 81 Indy 500s so bad, so bad. I still have never owned one, although I do have an 83 Indy 600, which is, you know, pretty close. But I love these sleds, just love them. 92 RXL. You guys know I love these. So cool. Just love the colors on it. Oh, this is my buddy Jeff Lavold. If you go back to the 2023 Princeton videos, you could see when Jeff bought this. So really cool, really nice sled. I should have bought it from him. Oh well. Ah, patron Mike Fugelberg's 1980 TXL Indy 340. Super cool, super cool. 1998 XCR 440 Red Rocket exhaust valve 440 Liberty twin. These move. These things make insane power. Case reed and exhaust valve on a 440. Really cool. All right, here's another favorite. This is an 86 Indy 600 LE. This was like the snow check sled of the era. Came from the factory with all the pinstriping, with the chrome ski covers, the fancy seat cover, and all that. So super cool. Chrome covers on the wheels. I don't know for sure, probably factory. Chrome rear grab bar. I'm not sure again, but probably factory. Really cool. Really cool sled. 336 miles. I'm gonna say plausible. This thing is just mint. Just mint. '79 TXL 340, 71 Charger 335, really cool. TX Racer, 1972 Starfire with stinger pipes. I bet it sounds fantastic. 372 J-Lo Mustang, she's a tank. Don Sukup brought a loud sled here. Dr. Mario. We'll try to get Dr. Mario to talk about it later. 67 Colt. Who am I? Who raced me? Any information? Contact Don Sukup or Randy Larson. Cool. It's a what's it? Milt Smith, Mr. Dirtman, his aluminum tunnel Charger. I'm gonna have to beg and plead. Maybe I can get Milt to talk about this. I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe we'll get Milt to have a beverage and he'll want to talk. And here's a 72 650 Starfire, Bob Eastman's with question marks. Really cool. Maybe we'll see if we get Don to tell us about that too. Super cool. All right, tell me about your sled.
Well, this sled, a little bit of history behind it. I was kind of chasing this one around for a while, and I ended up finally getting it back up here to Rosa where it belongs. This used to be Aaron Johnson's race sled. He won a lot of races on this. He's got his unique candy cane striped jack shaft on the back side here. That was kind of a telltale that it was there.
Oh, sure. I'll have to walk around and show the people. Yeah. I can see it through the hood. But
so the story behind this, Aaron didn't even know that we were that I'd picked it up. Ben Reese helped me get this thing back together. It didn't have a track in it, and there was a guy up down south that was drag racing it. So we were having a little party at the Dirt Man's place, and we unloaded it off the trailer and showed it to Aaron, and Aaron actually drove it. He was pretty surprised. So it was nice to see Aaron get on the sled and drive it around up at Uncle Milty's place. So
super
a little
cool.
bit of history here. He built this one right from the chassis up, and a lot of laps and a lot of trophies went with this one. So pretty cool story.
Super cool. Thanks, Todd. I'm going to have to get Aaron to pose with this thing later, I think, if I see him.
Yeah, he'll be around.
All right.
Be great.
Cool.
Thanks, Gunner. So that's what that's all about.
Yeah, there's Aaron's patented candy cane jack shaft. I may have to copy that.
It's pretty cool.
I think maybe I'll do it on an XLT with purple and black.
So we got a 72 795, true 795 that The carbs, we didn't put the Kean carbs on it. We got the Mikuni 650 carbs on it. So this sled came out of Michigan. It was Ed Schaefer's. It was a Bear chassis when it started. So I started out with the Bear chassis, and I was able to, had the motor, didn't have the pistons. We couldn't source the right pistons to start with, but through Dr. Mario, we did get a lot of the parts from him. And of course, Conrad, we got the seat out of Conrad. But we had one piston that was, the piston pin was broke. So we were able to bring it over to Wayne over at Pro 5 so the ring didn't roll around. So we have a true 795 cylinders. And it's Bob Safransky was the one that kind of put everything together here. And like I said, we got the skis and everything else from Dr. Mario, so thank him for all the chrome and everything else. We'll open her up here and take a look at it.
Let's have a look.
So,
oh boy, she's sharp.
yeah, we had it running real good. Stamen redid the ignition on it, so
Sure.
it is a rubber track sled, and the track did come out of New York.
Neat.
I was able to source that, so it took me about 3 years to get all the parts just together before we could start assembling it. So
We should explain why Dan had to redo the ignition on this. It's a rotor ignition, folks.
yeah,
It's
so
different than a stator.
yeah, so you got the internal external rotor, which is true to these motors. So we had spark was a little weak. I didn't want to go through everything. I got a hold of Dan. He had it whipped up in no time. We got real good spark, and it fired right up.
Yeah,
So,
Dan actually strips all the wires off and totally rewinds these.
yes.
Real
So,
craftsmanship there.
yeah, and that's a big plus to anybody that has any of these to have, for him to be able to do that. So
Yeah,
hats off to all these guys that are able to do that.
Absolutely, the guys that keep it alive. Brutanzas are the same way, are they not?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the stator cups are different between the 795. We found that out because we were trying to use a brute one, but that didn't work so good. So
Well, they had to change something just to
yeah,
make it different.
Yeah, they did. So we found that out. But pipes all original, and Bob Safransky was the one that put everything together here. But parts came from all over the country for this sled, and it's nice to see to keep this sport alive. So I want to thank everybody for their help.
That's awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Get the mail. Get the mail, Polaris prototype number, ? Who knows how many made. She's a wide track, like maybe a Mustang chassis with a TX seat on it and free air engine with some Tillys and carbs. Super cool. Very cool. It's the Nutter Speed Shop sticker, appropriately enough, next to the VintageSleds.com sticker. And as we swing around, it's the Dirtman sticker. This used to be Dirtman's sled. Pretty cool.
So
Folks, I found Jim Langley here. Jim, tell me about this sled. Tell me about running the I-500. Tell me about snowmobile racing back in the day.
I started in about 1963 on L80 steel track, rear engine.
No way.
We used it to go to Canada elk hunting or moose hunting. And I became a dealer for Polaris in about 63, 64. I bought the Comet machine. It was kind of a dud. They took it back. I got a Mustang with a 375 in it. Only one they ever had. And I lived in Anoka, Minnesota at that time. And I was the only one in the county that had a snowmobile down there. If you'd get up in the airplane, you'd see all the snowmobile tracks going to my house. Well, I was building houses, and we stopped at a restaurant to get some hamburger, my foreman and I. And the girl said, you know, you missed all the people from ABC Wide World of Sports. They were here, they're going to have a race over on Lake Phelan. So my friend Bill Porter, he said, Jim, let's go over there and watch. So we get over there, and man, there's sleds. I never seen that many sleds. He said, I got to go to the restroom. I'll be right back. Well, he went up and registered me in the 400 class. And as I was kneeling down along the sled, I had number 42 or 43 it was. This gentleman come up to me and he started laughing. He said, boy, you ain't gonna race that old sled. And old Bill said, you know, you're in our town now. So he turned away and he said, hey, I'd advise you not to get in the race. So the race was really funny. There was 43 sleds. I had 43 for a number. I was in the middle of the pack. We had a snowstorm the night before. The moguls were probably 4 foot deep. And we had to go about a quarter of a mile, and then we went through about a 20-foot gate, round the lake there a couple times, and I come up and I brought the sled down and we were going to put it on the trailer, and he said, you know, I had another $10 and I entered you in the open class. And I said, Bill, these guys, at that time I wore contact lenses and the odors were so, my eyes were watering from the fumes from the high-powered gas. Well, when it was all over, I ended up getting 2 third place. And when I went up to get my trophy, that gentleman that was laughing at me come across the parking lot with his hand out. He said, boy, I'm really sorry what I said to you. He said, you don't know who I am, but I'm Alan Hattine, the president of Polaris Snowmobiles. He said, you beat all my factory drivers here today. And my foreman said, you know, sir, you need some new drivers. So he took us to supper, and I had one of his drivers nudged me. He said, you know, these guys are all mad at you because you beat them. But he said he'd never been to a real race. He said, they're racing up there around Rosso, all them farmers, you know. So after supper, he took us out, Alan, and he said, boys, I'm going to tell you, we're having the first 150-mile cross-country race at Rhinelander, Wisconsin next week, and I invited Jim as a team driver to participate. So we go to Rhinelander, and they go every 2 minutes, they send 2 sleds off. And I was in the 8th heat, and we got to, there was a gas stop at 130 miles, no, 170 miles, no, 130. And there was another one about 10 miles before. So I got to the first gas stop, and I said, how many sleds in front of me? He said, there's only 4 sleds in front of you. And he said, what heat did I said, I left in the 8th heat. Well, he said, you know, these other guys behind me, you know, they could have fast sleds too. But anyway, I got down in the woods at the last gas stop, and there was only one guy in front of me, and that was Johnny Miller. And I got up to him going through the woods, and he looked back, and he caught a ski on a willow, and it flipped him over. I pulled in front of him. He said, keep going, there's nobody in front of you. You'll be the first one in. I said, no, hey, I took the rawhide out of my boot, and God took his rewind off and got his sled started, and 2 sleds passed us. So, and we got going, I passed one of the sleds. Johnny Miller finished first, Edson Brandt, Randy Heights finished second, and I finished third. And when he went up to get the trophy, he said, you know, we had a race in St. Paul, Minnesota, and he said, this farm boy come, and he said he really showed us what going fast was all about. And he said he'd have won that race here today, but Mr. Hattine took him as a factory driver, and he said he stopped to help another driver out. And I was going up to get my trophy. I still have the trophy to this day, a world championship trophy. The guy said, hey driver, stay up there. I want to talk to you. And he was carrying a bag. And on the way up, he said, hi Mary, hi Johnny. Hey Louie, I didn't see you in church. And he got up to me and he said to me, do you know who I am? And I said, sir, I don't believe I have ever seen you before. Well, he said, I'm the governor of Wisconsin. He said, I'm going to present you with a sportsmanship award, and I still have it to this day.
Wow.
And the following week was the first Winnipeg to St. Paul 500, and I had finished third in that too.
Wow.
So I finished Winnipeg to St. Paul 3 different times on 3 different manufacturers, snowmobiles.
Wow.
So, and then after that, I put this deal together with Mr. Hattine. I said, you know, Canada's having their 100th year anniversary. Ralph Playstead is going to the North Pole next year. I said, let's beat them. Let's do something. And I fought with them all summer, and it got into the end of September, and I called Alan. I said, Botel offered me a 6-man team and 2 sleds and pay me. And he said, well, let me think about it. And then, you know, finally at the first week in November, Alan called me and he said, Jim, I'm having the engineer build 2 sleds for you and Clark. But, you know, the tragic part of this whole thing was from the time they built the sleds to the race, Alan lost a son. He was shot in mistake for a deer on a snowmobile. A tragic mistake, you know. But that's how I got into racing and got to be one of the legends that Polaris has today.
I would say you are. Thank you very much,
bet.
Jim.
You bet.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, here's a real cool one. This is the actual 1967 Mustang cutaway sled that they used to make the brochures. My friend Jesse owns this, and I've seen it in his basement before. Really cool that he brought it up to the show. So let's get you some details. So the primary's cutaway. That's the old black steel primary. You can see what it has for weights. And there's the secondary. Now the secondary is a pin type, doesn't even have a helix. Chain case details, you can see the plastic slider. The chain case is just welded in, part of the deal. And it looks like the brake is literally a V-belt pulley with a wedge that gets jammed in there, which I didn't know. I've never owned a 67. The oldest I've owned is a 69. Significantly different in 69. But, you know, really cool. From this view, it looks like it's probably a J-Lo engine, a little Tillotson carb. And there we go, dashboard. There's some details underneath. There's another cutaway clutch, some steering parts. I don't know, we'll have to ask Jesse what that's about. Cutaway of the seat, the tunnel, you can see the track. Looks like he's probably got a new Dr. Mario track on there. And 72 improvements. So there's the sled from the brochure, or I should say in the brochure. 72 improvements. So that's one of the cooler displays you'll see. You can see the cutaway of the clutches. They did a nice cutaway of the whole motor, even the fuel pump, even half the coils cut away, part of the carb. Very cool. So I don't think that motor necessarily goes with this machine because they certainly didn't have the aluminum clutches yet in 67, let alone a Fuji motor. But nice cutaway motor. All right, here's a 400 free air one lunger. Basically half of an 800 free air motor from the, you know, really early in the Fuji era. And it's got a Kian card. A little unusual. I'm really used to seeing Tillys. Look at that big volume Stinger pipe on it. Pretty radical pipe for back in the day. Real long too, probably didn't turn very many RPMs. All right, so here's a concept motor. It's a V4 from the early 70s. You can see it's got a row of Tillotsons on there and a Bellic crankcase. Really cool. Looks like Fuji cylinders. Here's another Fuji inline 4. And you can see where they cut it apart and welded on the crankcase down there to stretch it. Really neat, really neat. Whole bunch of Tillotsons then too, right? All right, here's the Fusion 900 concept engine. You can see that crane case is all welded on the bottom and whatnot. Kind of a made-up engine, but really cool. All right, here's a 650 RXL. We know about RXLs on the channel. We like these. Really cool. Here's a one-lunger. A one-lung prototype. Well, let's read the tag and what's that say? It's a 250 air-cool. Started life as a 250 ATV, which you can tell by the way the motor mounts are. Cooling fins were cut off and a water jacket was made. So really cool. It says it went into production in the early 90s. Neat stuff. More, here's a prototype 440 Fuji from 95. Domestic twin, yeah, made 92 horsepower, early exhaust valves. Sweet. All right. 550 development, single cylinder. Pretty cool. You can see there's some welding on the cases and some machining to turn that into a single, probably just to make dyno and pipe development easier. You can develop the pipe for a single and work it into a twin, I think. All right, here's a 340 TXL. It says roughly 55 horse. I've always heard 56. Let's not quibble, but cool stuff there. Cool stuff there, and a Fuji 530 fanner. Big old 530 fanner from the early 70s. All right, what do we got over here? Domestic twin 4-stroke. Went into ATV Snow and Ranger. Pretty cool. Q850 cutaway, so this is a Sportsman engine. Neat. Looks like a little 120 there. Yep. And here's looks like a twin cylinder snowmobile base with ATV 350 2-stroke top end on it. That's what it looks like to me. Yep, there it says it. Prototype 700 Fuji twin. 2 350 ATV cylinders on an early Fuji snow crankcase and crankshaft. Needed spacers under the cylinders to adjust the height. Really cool. 2 engines were built, 1 went into a chassis. Neat stuff. So there's my take on the Polaris 70th Anniversary Vintage Snowmobile Show. I loved it. In fact, I loved the whole weekend. The whole event was awesome, and I want to thank Polaris Industries and the City of Roseville for putting the event on. I also want to thank everybody that brought sleds to the show and everybody that let me interview them, especially Jim Langley. Those stories were great, Jim. Thanks for letting me capture them. So with that said, I want to say huge thanks to the patrons. If you don't know, the patrons are really what keeps this channel going. Every month they give us a little donation, and in return, they get to watch all the videos early, they get to watch them ad-free, and they get patron-only videos. And there are several from this event that they're going to see that aren't really part of the show. The show is what's going out to the main audience on YouTube. But other things around town, well, the patrons are going to get to see those. So if you want to see any of the rest of that, well, you'll have to sign up on the Patreon. But anybody that's still watching, I want to say thanks to you for watching. And please hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. Even leave me a comment about the show. I appreciate that too. And, well, we'll see you on the trails.